What's up, geeks and gamers? It's Olden coming back with a video, and today we've got no box office numbers to break down because the box office is still shut down, so much so that even in China, where they were planning to reopen theaters because they claim everything is getting better there, everything is the golden paradise of everything, turns out not really to be true, and so all the theaters that they had reopened have now been closed, and all the ones that they plan to reopen have been scrapped and canceled to be reopened. So basically, there's really just no theaters out there except for the drive-in theaters, which I have a lot of theories about drive-in theaters possibly being the future of filmmaking and film-going experiences, but I have a lot of people who differ with me on that, and that's okay, because guess what? That's what an opinion is all about. But what we can do is we can talk about how there are indeed still Blu-ray and DVD sales that are going on. As you can see, this is, of course, the week ending in January 19th. Blu-ray and DVD sales are always delayed by this much just because they want to try and get as much accurate numbers as possible. So as of last check, Joker was doing very well. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil somehow was doing very well as well. But, of course, we all know that Disney puts out millions and millions of copies. And so having that much out there means essentially that if it's in your face, that you're more likely to buy it in the long run. But what I want to talk about today is about the box office bombs that we are seeing in this year. I mean, obviously we had some box office bombs last year as well. This is my little Excel sheet chart that I talk about every now and then. I do more further breakdowns of this chart over on my main channel, Ode's Movie Blog. Make sure you go check that out. But I wanted to do today is talk about what is likely going to be the biggest box office bomb of 2020, and it's already pretty much at that point because this film came out to very low opening numbers, was not expected to make a whole lot of money even before all the stuff with the beer bug was going on. And since now its theatrical run has been completely canceled and it is now available to purchase on on digital mediums, digital formats, this is the final box office number that we have. And so the movie Onward, Disney's Onward, ended up its run making a total of $102.9 million after it costing around $300 million when you add in marketing and production costs, which means the film was a negative $238 million bomb. This film lost $238 million. Now, some people might say, well, you know what, Odin, it makes sense though, because it's not fair to say that because this, and making excuses, which is what everyone tends to do for Disney. There's so many Disney apologists out there that will make any and every excuse to try and give them leeway on this. But here's the point. This movie was set to lose money even before the stuff started going on, because don't forget that the opening weekend was before it had any really major impact, or before the beer bug had any major impact on the box office numbers. It opened to a $67.1 million opening, and that was, again, looking at even very small domestic numbers, because you could argue that at that time when it opened, that it could have been affected in the China market, could have been affected in some of the overseas markets that had already shut down. But really at that point, China was the only major country that was affected in any real way, where almost all their theaters were shut down. So it's really hard to still make that case that Onward would have made that much more successful if it had a full opening weekend. And then by the second weekend, obviously, this is when it did start to get affected by the beer bug, and it only had made, by that point, $101 million. And that's why, as you can see, since that second weekend, it barely made any. But of course, that's when almost all theaters across the United States and across the world started to shut down. And now, of course, it is being sold on digital medium. And what's unfortunate is that it's very hard to track digital sales because obviously it's being sold on iTunes, it's being sold on Google Play, it's being sold on Amazon, all these different platforms. And so basically the only person that really would seem to have all of the numbers about how many copies they're selling would be Disney, right? They would have access to all of those numbers. I'm sure that iTunes could potentially release the numbers, but all you ever see from groups like iTunes or Google Play is what movies are trending, what movies are selling the most, but they don't give you the actual numbers, right? They don't give you the actual number of sales that they have, which is very sad because it means basically that they can manipulate the chart to say whatever they want. Disney could pay them a hefty sum to say, oh, make sure you put Onward as trending #1. And they can do that and no one will ever know about it because they don't have to actually release the numbers of copies that are being released. But with that all being said, Onward still only making $102 million at the actual box office means that in all likelihood, it's not going to be able to make up any most of that money in digital sales. Because, yeah, it might be able to make 90% of those sales. So the way it tends to work on iTunes, Google Play is that the studio makes around 90% of whatever the sale is, while iTunes, Google Play get a 10% of it. So it's a much better deal than what they normally get when they have their theaters out when they have their movies out in theaters, where it's a 60-40 split usually. So they can still make some money back, but to make $238 million, I think it's going to be very hard. If they ever do make it back, it's not going to be enough for them to ever justify this film getting a sequel or to push this film in any real way, especially since they are already going to be releasing this onto the Disney Plus streaming service, I think as early as April 4th. And so I don't think they're expecting really to make any money off of this. And this is already to add to the woes that they've been having at the box office as far as 2020 goes, because Call of the Wild was the first official release under the 20th Century Studios label. So it still was a Fox property, like it had been in production under the Fox name, but it was released under the new and updated 20th Century Studios because they had to get rid of Fox because of political reasons. And that film, before Beer Bug, before any of that stuff had any impact, was at a negative $123 million loss. And so they were already dealing with financial losses with a lot of their films coming out this year. You even had some films at the latter part of last year, right? You had, for example, Spies in Disguise, which was another Fox property that they take over, $66 million loss. You had a film that came out in the very beginning of the year, Underwater, with Kristen Stewart, $73 million loss. And so as you can see, a lot of their projects were not making any money. Onward was supposed to be that Disney Pixar film that was going to start to bring the money in. And then, of course, you would have Black Widow coming out in May, and you would have Mulan, and that would probably make a lot of money in China because that's where we're putting all of our eggs in that one basket, etc. And what happened? Oh, wait, that's right. Beer Bug happened, and now they don't get that Mulan sweet money. They don't get that Black Widow sweet money because all that stuff has been delayed indefinitely, and they don't have any actual release dates for that. If they were smart, is what I would say, if they were smart, what they would do is they would make those movies accessible through the Disney Plus or Hulu streaming services, especially for things like New Mutants, put that on Hulu. And what you do is you say, okay, so you get access to it if you have the streaming service, but then you also have to pay a premium since it's a brand new movie. I know that some people might get pissed, oh wait, I'm paying twice for a movie, but when you think about it, it actually makes the most financial sense because you then constrain the number of people that can access the film by saying only subscribers to our network can have it, and then you can offer the premium at a lower price because you're already getting that price offset by those subscription fees. And so you could say, okay, pay an extra $5 or $10 and then your entire family can watch Mulan. I know that I have no plans to watch Mulan. I know that I have no plans to watch Black Widow just because I just don't like the current state of the MCU or Disney in general. But that would be such a better way financially for them to work this out because they would be able to, one, increase the number of people using their service, which is something that they want to do in the first place, and two, get extra money on top of that by charging premiums for brand new releases, which can then, of course, be available for free after a few month period, very similar to how they do theatrical windows. But they're not doing that yet at this point in time, which means basically all they have right now in the market is losses. You know, we're not obviously counting Blu-ray DVD sales because it's again very hard to track those since those are always delayed and when those updates are released. But we're living in a world right now where Disney, especially out of all the studios, is the one that's being hurt the most because Disney is a giant corporation. And it's something that I think should have been broken up a long time ago just because of how just broad and sweeping it is. When you think about their theme parks, right? That's normally where they get a lot of that easy money. They're not getting anything from the theme parks right now. Their movies, right? They're normally able to slap the Disney label on it and make money. Not able to do that either. Their business deal buying out Fox for $71 billion has resulted in not a single movie, to my knowledge, from Fox that has made them any money has been in the loss, right? That's the reason why they've had to buy out like what $8 billion worth, just pay off their debts. It's a bad position right now for Disney overall. And so Disney, I think, is going to be the big box office loser this year because even if they do eventually release things like Black Widow, what's the market going to be like then? Are people going to be wanting to go see those films now, especially when they realize, oh, there's so much more I can do at home and I don't have to leave my house, or, oh, I realize how much money I was spending before, and, oh, wait, they're just going to release this stuff to Disney Plus eventually? Well, I guess we can wait. These are questions that we really don't know the answer to. I know that I'm still a moviegoer. You know, I love going to the movie theater. I know there's a lot of people that watch this channel that will probably also be in the same boat and would love to see these films in theaters too. But I think that if Disney thinks that they're going to have a time when they can just release movie after movie, Mulan, and then Black Widow, and then all those other films that they had planned, I think they got another thing coming. But that's just my own thought about this. What do you think? Again, I think Disney's going to be the biggest box office loser of this year. Just from those two films alone. Onward, again, being their own Disney Pixar film, $238 million in the red. Again, I don't think anything's going to top that this year. And then that was already with them dealing with the huge financial loss of The Call of the Wild at $123 million loss. And so, yeah, they might be able to make it up at some point in the future, maybe. But even then, that is still kind of up in doubt because that's a lot of money that they have to make back. Because remember, even if they got a $1 billion successful film, doesn't mean that they're going to make money. If you look to Rise of Skywalker, for instance, that film made over $1 billion, but as far as actual net gain, net profit, it only made a little over $100 million. Yeah, so last time I checked, it made $120 million in net gain, net profit. Also, by the way, if you want to check out my channel, I do a whole video explaining how, because the box office is closed, Rise of Skywalker has lost to Joker officially. So if you want to see me further break down those numbers over on my channel, please go ahead and check that out. But also, let me know on this channel, what are your thoughts about these numbers? Do you think that Disney's going to be able to make these numbers up through digital sales, through the eventual reopening of their parks, through the eventual releases of films like Black Widow, etc.? Again, I have my doubts about it, but we'll have to just wait and see. But let me know your thoughts about this and all the things about it in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, hit that subscribe. It helps us out a lot. And also check out my channel, Odin's Movie Blog, as well. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless.